Let me ask you something honestly. Have you ever applied for a promotion inside your company and being rejected even though you knew you could do the job? Even though you had already been doing pieces of it for years? Even though you spoke up in meetings, you delivered results, made yourself available, and built credibility? I'm sure that on paper, you look like the obvious choice, but under the lens, you were labeled something else, maybe too strong, maybe too opinionated, maybe a disruptor, maybe hard to manage. Welcome to At What Point, the podcast where we dive into the real, raw, and rewarding journey of personal and professional growth. I'm Catherine, your host, here to guide you through mindset shifts, powerful aha moments, and the resilience it takes to thrive no matter what life throws your way. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, taking the leap into entrepreneurship, or just looking for that boost of motivation, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. The very traits that makes a great leader, conviction, directness, the refusal to shrink, become inconvenient the moment they show up in a woman who is no longer willing to shrink. They were not ready for it. And here is the thing. This was never just about you and that one promotion. This is a pattern. We have been sold the idea that the corporate ladder is merit-based, that if you work hard enough, deliver enough, sacrifice enough, the right doors will open. But many of us who have climbed it know the truth. It is layered with perception, politics, and power dynamics that have very little to do with capability. And I saw this play out in real time just last week. I was in Chicago at an in person networking event hosted by a former client who was launching her HR consulting firm. And you know this about me. When I go to events, I don't go with the intention to pitch. I go with the intention to connect. And more importantly, I go with the intention to listen. And here is the thing, listening with the intention to gather information is very different from listening with the intention to solve a problem. When you are collecting information, you are observing patterns, energy, and opportunity, and you are positioning yourself strategically. When you are listening with the intention to solve, you pitch too soon and you close doors. So, back to that night, listening is exactly what led me to her. This incredible woman who had just left her position after 22 years in senior leadership as a talent and development director for an international hotel chain. She was vibrant, sharp, deeply experienced. She had brand new business cards with a QR code that linked directly to her resume, which I thought was brilliant. But when we talked, she shared what actually happened. She had applied for a higher senior leadership position within her own department, and they hired a recent college graduate instead. And then they asked her to train her replacement. After almost 3 decades of loyalty, growth, and contribution, she was told that she wasn't ready. She couldn't swallow it. She said she wouldn't be able to smile through it or pretend she wasn't being pushed out. She felt humiliated. So she submitted her resignation. And when she did, they gaslighted her, telling her she wasn't being a team player, that she should have trained the new hire to be confident and analytical like she was. 22 years. And they asked her to train her replacement. Let that land for a second. And I listened to her. I didn't just see her story. I saw the story of so many corporate women who sacrificed time with their families, their health, their peace, because they believed that loyalty meant protection. And I'm sharing this because I know some of you have a version of this story sitting in the back of your mind right now. Maybe it already happened to you. Maybe you feel it coming. Maybe you have been the easy one for so long that you have forgotten what it feels like to advocate for yourself without apologizing for it. And here's the hard truth. The second you set a boundary, the second you stop over functioning, the second you advocate for yourself in a way that disrupt the narrative they have about you stop being the easy one and you start being the replaceable one. not because you are not valuable, but because the system was never built to reciprocate loyalty emotionally. So you have two choices. You either decide to play the corporate game fully aware of the rules, or you just start building something of your own. For many of us, the idea of building something of our own has been sitting quietly in the back of our minds for years. For me, for example, it was there while I was leading a team of 14 wonderful women, while I also had small children at home, including one with autism. And I will sit in my office wondering what it will feel like to be at every soccer game without anxiety, to travel without worrying about who was holding everything together at home, to design my schedule instead of asking permission for it. I had the idea, I had the business model. What I didn't have was the direction and support. So it remained a fantasy. It was like wanting to win the lottery, but never buying a ticket. And I know some of you are sitting in that exact same office right now. You can see it, you just haven't moved toward it yet. So let me give you the one practical thing I want you to do this week, not someday, this week. I want you to grab a notebook and write down one specific problem you are uniquely qualified to solve. I want you to write down who you want to work with and just as importantly, who you don't. And then start having conversations, not to pitch, not to announce anything, just to listen and gather information. Because when you listen with intention, you will start to see that the problem you solve every day without even thinking about it is the exact problem someone else is desperately searching for help with. And before you do any of these, I need you to hear something important. Do not share this with anyone who is not an entrepreneur. Not yet, not even with family, not because they don't love you, but because they are not in your shoes. They will project their fears onto your dream, the economy, the timing, the risk, and none of that is theirs to carry. This is yours. Protect it until it's strong enough to stand on its own. Corporate loyalty may not be reciprocated the way you hope, but your loyalty to yourself can. And in a world where roles are shifting, departments are restructuring, and artificial intelligence is replacing tasks faster than most companies are willing to admit, betting only on a title is no longer strategic. Betting on your own capability is. So, as we close today, I want you to sit with these. That woman in Chicago gave 22 years of her life to a company that asked her to train her own replacement. And the most powerful thing she did was choose herself anyway. And maybe that is exactly where you are right now, not at the end of something, but at the beginning of the most important decision you will ever make for yourself. At what point do you stop waiting for the promotion that validates your worth and start building the opportunity that reflects it? And at what point do you give yourself permission to bet on the one person who has never once let you down? Yourself. The choice, my friend, is not whether corporate will change for you. The choice is whether you are willing to change your strategy for yourself. Before you go, if this episode resonated, you need to be on my email list. Every Wednesday, I send out marketing strategies, mindset shifts, and AI tips you can actually use. No fluff. Head to katherinebeltran.com/move, and I will see you in your inbox this Wednesday. Love the show? Hit subscribe. See you next time.